So in computer collector circles, there's a phrase you often hear, a holy grail. It represents a piece of hardware someone's lusting after for various reasons. It can be something ultra rare and expensive, and I'm fortunate enough to have a couple of those items in my possession, like something you can show off to like-minded people who'll appreciate it. It can also be something you always wanted as a kid or after seeing it a million times featured in documentaries. But there's also a far more intimate holy grail I think we all covet more and more, especially as we grow older. I wasn't always a collector, and although I was fascinated by tech for as long as I can remember, I didn't have the means to keep it once it was past its prime. What I mean by that is when we would upgrade the family computer, the old one would always go to someone else, or after it's been long enough, it would just end up in the trash. That was the case with our old Pentium machine, which is long gone, but some of my other childhood computers had a different fate. The very first computers I could use as my own were from Apple, and that's because my dad used to work as a photographer at a local newspaper/publishing house, and that space was traditionally filled with Macintoshes. Once he got into digital photography, he got himself an iBook G3, which by that point shipped with Firewire, a crucial technology for fast data transfers at that point. Shout out to Dad, by the way, for keeping all his computer boxes. Dude was ahead of his time. I got to use it from time to time, in particular to play freaking Nanosaur and bug them, which I absolutely loved. As I grew older, I also got to use it for my school projects and also to hook it up to our modem and to chat over MSN and IRC. Tough times. But around 2006, my dad upgraded to then state-of-the-art MacBook Pro, and I got to have my very own laptop for the very first time. By that point, it was around 5 years old, which seems perfectly reasonable. I mean, I have no trouble using machines that are well over 10 years old to do most of the basic tasks today. But since Macs have shifted to Intel, the support for PowerPC and especially the G3s was dwindling, and by that point, it really wasn't very fun to use daily. But for basic productivity and MSN, I mean, it still kicked ass, although I do still remember two main things I missed on this model. First were the games, and I mean, Macs were never known for having a great library of titles, but even the games that were supported and I would be very happy to play were impossible to get a hold of. I mean, I had no issues with piracy, but downloading hundreds of megabytes of dubious software was a big no-no in dial-up age. Speaking of dial-up, the second thing I really wished I had was a wireless card, since I was tied to a wire in the hallway and I wanted to take my important MSN chats in private in my room. What? I mean, I had homework and stuff to discuss. Anyway, given all those issues, I started using our Pentium machine more often than my iBook, and then it just kinda, went into the drawer. We eventually gave it to one of our family friends who was somewhat of a collector of old technology and also somewhat of a personal role model. I kinda forgot about all that until somewhat recently when he came to visit and actually mentioned it. He saw I have a YouTube channel featuring old Macs, and he told me not only did he keep some old Macs we gave him, but he was willing to give them back. I was absolutely thrilled, and he would soon come to visit again, bringing with him the iBook I just told you about, along with my dad's MacBook Pro I also mentioned. Yep, much like that iBook, that MacBook also went to me when he upgraded to a unibody model, and I used that thing all the way through college. In return, I gave my friend some hard drives, GPUs, and power supplies. I wanted to throw in many more things, but he said he doesn't have the space for it. How relatable. And so for the very first time in, I guess, over 20 years, I could reconnect with a very special part of my computing past. What? The iBook itself was in great shape. I mean, it really was taken care of, and it wasn't yellowed, scratched. It even had the original battery still in place. And I kid you not, that battery was still holding a decent charge. I was anxious to plug that cute yo-yo style power adapter in and see what it does. And I was very happy it turned on and chimed, especially since I recently had a terrible time trying to repair a similar G4 model. These things are an absolute dog to work on and troubleshoot. I've turned the lights down since, these early LCDs weren't really at the forefront of technology at this point, let me put it that way. And yep, it booted into the OS X installation, in particular 10.1 Puma, but to my disappointment, it was a fresh install. I wasn't too surprised since my buddy had told me he wiped the hard drive and tried using it himself, but I still thought perhaps he just freed up some space. Yeah, there were no old files left for me to enjoy, but there was just one little thing tying this guy to my past in software, which was the name of the hard drive that my buddy decided to preserve. Not the hard drive, it's actually the name of the home folder. Well, I still wasn't giving up on the idea of somehow retrieving at least some of my old files, if at all possible. My first thought was getting the hard drive out and just using some modern data retrieval software to scan the drive for any deleted files. However, as I pointed out in my previous video, these iBooks are essentially built around the hard drive, and it takes a full disassembly to get the freaking thing apart. I mean, it's just astonishingly difficult to get it out of there, not to mention risky, since there are a ton of really tight plastic clips holding the whole thing together. I didn't want to risk damaging my precious childhood computer, so I thought about ways of accessing those files by some other means, if they're indeed salvageable. I started looking into old data recovery software for PowerPC Macs on sites like Macintosh Garden and Macintosh Repository, and while I did find some, most of them required a G4 processor and something like a gig of memory, not to mention OS X Tiger or higher. My poor iBook had a 500 MHz G3 with like 160 megs of RAM, so those apps wouldn't do. However, I did find an earlier release of Data Rescue 2, an old recovery program that is supposed to work on a G3 system. Better still, it offered a bootable CD option, which makes sense if you're trying to recover files from a machine that for some reason can't boot into the original OS. It did say it requires macOS 10.2, but I wasn't going to upgrade my OS quite yet. See, the way these data recovery apps work is by taking advantage of how deleting file works on hard drives. When you delete a file, either by putting it in the trash and emptying it, or by formatting the drive, you're essentially marking those sectors on the HDD platter as quote-unquote empty, but no data is actually removed from it. It's only when you rewrite those sectors with new data that makes the old data disappear. That's, by the way, how secure formatting works, by writing over the deleted files multiple times. Now, I didn't know which method my friend used to get the data off this drive, but I figured it was worth a shot to at least try recovering some of my childhood memories that might still be accessible and hidden on it. However, I didn't want to overwrite any of that potential data, so if I could, I wanted to avoid upgrading the OS or reinstalling it. So I wanted to give Data Rescue a shot, but before trying to boot off of that disk, I wanted to see if the internal CD drive was still functioning. This iBook only had a CD-ROM, since I remember my dad buying an external FireWire burner for his photos. It's amazing how much the option to upgrade to a CDRW cost back in the day, and now they're nigh on worthless. I dug out one of the few games in my collection that will actually run on this config and tried it in the iBook. Thankfully, it read it beautifully. So with that out of the way, I proceeded to burn a copy of that data rescue software on my modern PC, making sure to go to the lowest speed this external super drive can go, just in case. Once it was finished, I popped it in the drive to see if it would recognize the software before actually booting off of it. And while it read it fine as expected, it wouldn't install the software since, like the manual said, it required macOS 10.2.4. But I did want to try booting off of it since, I mean, it made sense to me that it could do that even with no OS on the primary hard drive. Upon restarting the machine and holding down the Alt button, I could indeed see the option to boot off of the CD, but once I tried it, it would just take me to Open Firmware, which is like a pre-boot command prompt environment for Macs. I tried rebooting several times and even tried force booting it by typing in a cd boot command, but that just left me with a broken Mac symbol. I tried it multiple times, but I'd either get stuck or spontaneously reboot it back to OS X. That being the case, I did some more digging and found Disk Warrior 3 that's supposed to work with my iBook G3. I burned myself a copy and tried running it. It showed up fine and all the files were there, but alas, it still wouldn't run. Looking up the install guide, yep, it requires macOS 10.2, much like the previous piece of software. However, unlike Data Rescue, this one came with an OS 9 compatible version on disk, which, I mean, earlier versions of macOS 10 could run OS 9 apps via the classic environment, so I tried that. But it turns out my iBook didn't actually have the necessary OS 9 folder. I guess it was deleted at some point, so yeah, while I could add it to my drive, I wanted to see if I could boot off the disk instead. And unlike the previous scenario, this actually looked like it was going to work, since instead of that weird open firmware environment, I actually got an Apple logo. Sweet. And it got stuck. Okay, take two. We actually have a spinny wheel thingy. Nice. God, I really don't miss booting off CDs, man. I left this going for like 20 minutes before it actually just gave up and booted into macOS. Ah, screw it, let's install 10.2 update already. Jeez. That will at least enable me to run those apps within the OS, not having to boot from them. I burned myself a copy of OS 10.2 and popped it in. It asked for the computer to be restarted, and upon restarting I bumped into the same issue. It just wouldn't boot from the CD. At this point I was getting worried, since I feared the optical drive might be dying. However, it was reading discs fine. Even still, I used some IPA to gently wipe the lens. However, it had no effect. It still wouldn't boot. Before writing that CD drive off, I wanted to try a different brand of discs, just in case. So I took a brand new sealed CDRW and tried the same thing. And lo and behold, it did it that time. I was able to get to the point where I could upgrade to 10.2, but before doing that, I wanted to get back to that Disk Warrior utility, which I've burned onto a new CDRW disk, just in case it would perhaps boot from it at this point. And holy moly, it did. It's not even the first time I had this happen, mostly with older computers, since they can be really picky about the speed and variety of disks you stick in them. The utility prompted me with an option to rebuild the directory of my hard drive, which I wasn't sure at first what it will do, so I checked the manual. Apparently this looks for every directory it can find, even if it's an erased one, and allows you to compare it to the original one, and if there's a difference you can replace it. So I let it do that just to check, and while it did successfully finish the process, I wasn't able to find too many recovered items, like just a few temp files and that's it. I don't really think this software is what I need, so emboldened by my newly found disk success, I tried the original data rescue, but burned to my new disk. Yep, exactly. Booted up with no issues. Damn, wish I figured out the disk issue sooner, and hey, it's a good cautionary tale for anyone out there. You know, always try burning a couple of different disk types before giving up, since it might not be your drive or computer that's at fault. Easiest things first. Right, this utility seemed more promising than the previous one, and while it did take some time to load, once it did, yeah, that's what I was looking for. I was able to select the drive in question and do what it called deleted file scan, which is pretty self-explanatory. It also wanted me to select a destination drive, and ideally you'd connect like an external fireware hard drive, since this thing has like USB 1 on board, which is slow as crap, but I didn't really feel like digging one out, so USB stick it is. I just used the Spore busted up one I have laying around, and I formatted it to macOS extended format, plugged it in, and waited for it to be recognized by the utility. Once it did that, I could initialize the scanning process, which felt really exciting. I couldn't wait to see if it would find anything. It took quite a bit of time, which is okay since we're dealing with CD-ROM speeds. Once it was done, I was blown away to see it actually found a bunch of files, like 3 gigs worth, including JPEGs and all sorts of other file types. I immediately started saving those to my USB, and yeah, it took a couple of hours, and I was really worried I might encounter some weird errors or problems, but this worked about as well as I could imagine. Like, even better than I thought it would. It was actually really refreshing seeing this old school piece of software beat many of the modern variants. Like, you know how freaking bloated and awful these things can be, especially things like recovery software. I mean, they do like 100 different things, they're all ad infected, you have to select a payment plan and a subscription, it puts the result behind a paywall, you have to be connected to the internet for it to work, and so on. Nah, screw that, this does what you need, even if it does take a bit. And once it was finished, I had all those files to go through, and there were a lot of them. Now, yes, many of these files were just like previous operating system files, which were also just charming to look at. I mean, look at all these old Apple products and icons. However, every now and again I would come across something that would just warm my heart, like a document dated 2001 containing some random info about a person from our family past who I remember weirdly but distinctly. There were also a lot of like corrupted files, which is to be expected. Also a lot of directory and system files I really didn't care about. But as I grow older, these memories are really becoming more important, especially from before I even knew what a backup was. And even though by the time I got rid of my other childhood/high school notebook, I had backed it up before getting rid of it, I still wanted to try doing a similar thing to it, this MacBook Pro, which was quite a bit more scuffed and worn. Yeah, it had a hard life, I used and abused the sucker, but hey, it still works perfectly along with that 80 gig hard drive. I remember thinking, oh my god, 80 gigs, that's super awesome. I can fit so many games on here, man, when I was like 16. Anyways, this one was actually not wiped, meaning, yeah, I think I deleted pretty much all personal files from it before giving it away. However, it had the old Snow Leopard installation, as well as a lot of my actual applications and settings. Like, I remember that login picture for sure, and a lot of the apps were still present here. In particular, the one I was super happy to see again was the Stellar Phoenix data recovery software, since I absolutely used this when one of my external hard drives got formatted by accident. And when I was looking for a recovery tool for my iBook, this was the first thing I looked up, but I couldn't find a compatible version. Anyway, yeah, I just used this because I remember it working very well, and I told it to again look for deleted files, and it took off. Since it was a larger hard drive, it took a lot longer, but I could see it finding all sorts of files, and in the end it was like 70 gigs, although I did leave it overnight to finish. I'll share some of the stuff that's worth sharing here, just for giggles. You can see that your boy hasn't really grown up, even like 20 years later, still giving the finger to the camera. Also just endless nostalgia, horsing around in photo booth. Man, we had hours of fun with that. So yeah, my thoughts? I'm absolutely stoked to finally be reunited with my childhood computers, both in hardware and now at least partially in my digital memories. Also, if you happen to have an old computer somewhere in your basement, even if it's broken, even if you formatted it and deleted all the files, there's still a chance that those files are still accessible, hidden on that hard drive waiting to be rediscovered. And if you gave your old PC away to someone, there is a chance they kept it, or that you can trace it down to someone and have it returned to you to play around with for one last time. And yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed watching me get my old files back, and if you have, then great, you might like some of my other stuff. I do these videos once a week, reviews, retrospectives, repairs, restorations, and all sorts of other nerdy tech stuff. If you like what I do and you'd like to support me, you can do so on Patreon for just $1 a month or more if you'd like. You'll get early access to my videos, and I usually have a couple for my supporters to see first. If you'd like to chat with me and other users, you can join our Discord server. All the links will be in the video description. Thanks, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.